Hey YouTube, welcome to another video where I show you my Elite controller setup for one of the games that I like playing most, and that's Hitman. I've spent a lot of time on Hitman Season 1. It's one of the only games that's taken me away from Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on Hitman 2, which comes out in mid-November, I think it is. I've got it pre-ordered. It's the first game that I have pre-ordered in a very long time. Normally I wait for things to get cheaper and then I buy them second-hand, which is what I did with Hitman Season 1. I bought it for maybe £15 in a second-hand shop. But for Hitman 2, I'm pre-ordering. I'm going to pay full price for this because I think it is worth the money. These Hitman games, they've done a really good job. So in this video, I want to show you my Elite controller setup for playing as Hitman, which I plan to carry over to Hitman 2. I'm assuming the controls won't be that different, so this should translate fairly well over to Hitman 2 if you're looking to get that. Or if you've only got Hitman 2, then this should still work for you. Now, I'm no Hitman professional, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying here this is the best setup. I'm not saying it's the only setup, and I'm not saying you even need it at all. It's just something that I like to use because I've got the paddles there and I've got used to just using them and not moving my thumbs or forefingers around too much on the controller. Firstly, before we take a look at the Elite setup, I'm just going to show you my standard gameplay settings. Now, before we get into the Elite setup, let's just take a quick look at my standard configuration for Hitman. So we flick over to options and look at the gameplay settings. I keep the opportunities minimal. I don't have them completely off because I like to catch them, but I want to at least be able to see them pop up. And for everything else, I keep pretty much everything pretty standard, I think. For the controller, I have Y inverted because that's how I roll. X I leave as it is. My aim sensitivity is set as 1 with camera sensitivity as 1.3. Sometimes it's too slow, sometimes it's too fast, but this is just what I've got used to playing with, so that's what I use. Vibration is on because I do love having vibration. Fast target is very handy, and I do keep aim assist on with Hitman just because I find it really difficult to aim in Hitman. A lot of games I play without aim assist, but in Hitman, I just like to use it. For graphics, I've got HDR enabled, though when I record gameplay, I can't actually make use of HDR because the game capture card doesn't support it. So if I want to play with HDR, I have to bypass the game capture card. Gamma correction is set as 1.10, which I think is the default, and frame rate is unlocked just because I like to have that extra smoothness when I'm playing rather than locking it down to 30 frames per second. For audio, master volume is at full, effects volume are at full, music I turn down a little bit, and output mode is surround. I always keep my music down lower than effects or voices because I want to be able to hear what's going on. Generally, if there's a voice option, I'll have the voice up to the max, I'll have effects just below voice, and then I'll have music down below that. Now, the bit that you're actually here for is how I've got the Elite set up. As you can see, I've got Hitman configured to profile number 1. Let's open it up and take a look at how I've got it configured. As you can see, the top left paddle is mapped to the left bumper, the top right paddle is mapped to the right bumper, the bottom left paddle is mapped to the B button, and the bottom right paddle is mapped to the right stick. So what does this allow me to actually do in game? Well, the left bumper is to run, so that means I can easily run around without having to take my finger off of the aim button and move up to the bumper, because I do struggle with pressing the bumpers. With the right bumper on that top right, that's instinct and reload, which means I don't again have to take my finger off of the trigger in order to use instinct or anything like that, and I just find that a lot more useful again because I don't like moving my fingers off the trigger to go to the bumper. So the B button is the option to take cover or drop and drag a body. As I'm moving around, I like to be able to take cover without taking my thumb off the stick, so it's really handy for me to have that B button there. And then finally, clicking the right stick, that allows you to crouch. Crouching for me isn't something you'd normally do by clicking a stick. Normally it's a B button kind of activity, so I'm kind of used to just having it there on a paddle. I don't want to have to click the button to crouch. It might be that I could use that perfectly easily, but this is just the way I've got it set up and it works nicely for me. So that's the button configuration. Let's have a look at the sticks. The sensitivity curve on the left stick is just set to absolute default, so the stick functions as it would in any other game on any other controller. The right stick, again, sensitivity curve set to default. Nothing special here. For the triggers, I've got both of them set to their fullest settings. I don't know why you'd ever really change that. For vibration, I've kept the triggers low because I don't need loads of vibration in the triggers. And for the grips, I've kept those at about medium strength because I just don't need too much vibration going on in the hand. And then finally for brightness, I keep the brightness down quite low because I don't see the point in wasting battery power having a bright guide button. There's just no need for it. And that's the Elite setup. Let's have a look at how that plays in game. So I'll demonstrate this in the very first level as best I can. I'll just pick up all of these items. I'm not going to use them, I just like picking stuff up. So as I walk along there, I can squeeze the paddle to run. I can also aim whilst I'm running by having the aim mapped to a paddle, so that makes things a little bit easier if I want to work quickly. And then as I'm moving along, I can just very easily crouch without having to press the thumbstick and move the camera around accidentally as I press the thumbstick. And then as I'm moving along there, I can just quickly take cover by pressing the paddle, and I don't have to worry about repositioning my fingers at all. It's one of those things where it's really difficult to kind of demonstrate it in this way. You kind of have to get used to playing with it and trying it out to see how it works. Could I do all of these functions as well if I didn't remap the paddles? Yeah, I possibly could, but I just like having the paddles there, and it just feels a bit more natural to me to do all of these movements using those paddles under the controller. So that's my in-game and Elite controller setup for Hitman, which will be carried over to Hitman 2, hopefully, as long as the controls aren't any different. If they are different, then I'll possibly try something else and share a video specifically for Hitman 2. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, this video should be applicable for both Hitman Season 1 and Hitman 2. Hopefully you've liked this video. If you have, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with any videos that are released in the future, and don't forget to get those notifications to make sure you don't miss out on anything breaking as it gets uploaded and published for you. If you are still here, I can only assume you have enjoyed the video, in which case please check out one of these other videos that are showing on the screen right now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.